Hi, thanks for having me. Two reasons I'm a tiny bit nervous. One, I'm used to talking to ad agencies who are generally populated by people who think they're really clever. They really aren't. This feels like exactly the reverse. Terribly nervous about some of the quite highbrow conversations I was struggling with before I even got up here. But thank you, that's really interesting. And secondly, and this is a first for me in many years of media, I've never presented to more ex-colleagues than colleagues. Hiya! Which is kind of weird, and I wonder what it means for the next few months for me at News UK. A little bit concerning. And perhaps next time I'll be ex-News UK. I'm going to talk for 12 minutes. That makes it sound like I've practiced. I haven't. About 12 minutes, 15 minutes max. On some not very highbrow stuff. It's not about data and it's not about tech. It's just about what people are doing in the VOD space. And the reason I'm going to do that, the reason I have the ability to do that is because amongst our many other interesting and varied challenges at News UK, we spent a lot of money some years ago, a couple of years ago, building a broadcast quality studio. And it looks beautiful and was very shiny and had lots of big buttons and widgets and things in it, but we didn't really know what to do with it. And I won't tell you why we built it, and Tom knows, and I'm sure Pete does too. They'll tell you at the bar afterwards. But anyway, we've got this great big thing and we didn't know what to do with it. And at the same time, I was writing reports that suggested that video advertising was the next big thing, consumption was on the up, video consumption on mobile was on the up, mobile's also on the up, and it's a space we really needed to get into. So cue pressure back on the advertising guys. That's me, by the way. I represent the advertising department. I'm the slightly human face of them without the shiny suit. Pressure back on us to decide what to sell against all this beautiful new VOD that we're going to be producing. And the answer was we didn't know. So after a couple of years, we decided that we'd actually sit down with our editorial colleagues, put our differences aside, and try and work out what people would like us to produce. And on the end of that, we'd try and work out how to make some money off the back of it. So we're essentially about 10 weeks into about a 15-week program. And this stuff, I'd appreciate if you didn't, I don't think there are any particularly salacious or interesting pieces of stats in here, but try not to tweet it because it's technically not being seen by anybody internally except for me and the Insight people. So you're getting a bit of a sort of a brief preview. I'm going to spin you through. So what do we want to know? What we wanted to know was what people are actually doing. Okay, COD, lazy answer. Well, they're on YouTube, right? And they're watching skateboarding cats and stuff. And sometimes they're pirating stuff. We don't really know how they do it. It's quite complicated. It involves sort of strange places in Russia and odd servers offshore. But we think they're doing that sort of stuff. The rest of it's all YouTube. Well, that's no good to us because we kind of need to get into the bottom, get into the detail of what are they doing on YouTube? Are they on YouTube? Are they somewhere else? How much time are they spending on it? How do they get to it? Do they like it? What do they like? What do they not like? What do they recommend? Etc. 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 So we got a group of people, 40 of them, half of whom were Sun customers, either digitally or through paper, and half just general gadgets off the street. And we're working with them, as I said, over a 15-odd week program, doing a diary study, an online forum. We've done a pop-up forum internally where we invited them into the building onto our level 13, a very corporate space. Kind of weird to see lots of Sun readers on the corporate space, really odd. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Odd-looking bunch. Male readers were fine. You're not going to publish this, are you? It's not going on YouTube. We did a co-creation session with them, so we brought our video creatives into the room, and after we digested what they told us they'd been doing on the internet, in the VOD space, we then said, well, what would you like us to do? And worked up some ideas with them. I'm not going to share those tonight because they're still embargoed, although I will give you a couple of titles, which will give some of it away. Then I had to stick the word ideation in. There is actually a phrase called ideation. I still don't really know what it means, but everyone in this room probably does. It's not actually a word. Does anyone know that? It's not a word. And the bits that are supposed to be grey that are coming out white, we haven't done yet. We're building out some programming concepts at the moment. We're going to play them back to this group of 40 people and work out whether we got it right. Okay, so first things first. you're very clever people, so you probably know this. It's really complicated. The first thing that struck us, right? It is much more complicated than just YouTube. This doesn't even talk about piracy. Piracy came out of the woodwork as a massive issue, right? We having spent a lot of money on the Premiership rights about a year or so ago, I don't think we really fully digested quite what a big issue piracy is across both sports rights and film rights and et cetera, but it's really, really complicated. Standout VOD sources, so again, this is, we'll spin through this, it's pretty macro. It's not just YouTube. Instagram came up a lot. Again, surprise to us. We know that Facebook are really promoting videos and the use of video, but we really didn't realise quite how much video people were starting to consume through Instagram. BuzzFeed, again, BuzzFeed, those of you who know their business model, which will be everybody in the room, really pushing video, really pushing video, and people are going there as a destination, as well as being referred via social a lot. It's on there, it's this place here. I won't talk about it too long, because Tom probably still going to put a funny spin about the whole place. Mail Online, it's their thing, they do a lot of it, you know. There's a lot of Kim Kardashian out there, and a lot of it is on the Mail. And our slightly more distant cousins at Sky as well. Devices, okay, so no real surprises here. Points to note that we've picked up in the first couple of weeks. Not a lot of video consumption on the mobile outside of Wi-Fi. It might surprise you, it might not. Even in the London area, we thought there'd be quite a lot. Small clips through 3G, 4G, 3G mostly on the bus. And there isn't, not what we're seeing. Tablets, I can't believe second screen is there. Dual screening. There is a lot of tablet use of video, but mostly in the house, not much being taken out of the house. These were the perhaps more interesting ones for us, which was a lot of people saying, yeah, I'll get my VOD on my screen through my Xbox. Right? Don't bother with it. I want it on a big screen. I want my 32-inch plasma. I'll just plug in the Xbox. And down here, again, a lot of people starting to connect their laptops straight back through to their systems and up to their massive plasma TVs.
Is that Apple TV, Chromebox,
yeah.
Chromecast?
Yeah. Okay, so again, it probably won't sound that surprising, but it's kind of helpful to bucket what people are telling us. So what we want to know is what to make. So we have to start talking about slicing and dicing. We're going to cut it one way, and then I'll show you in a minute we're going to cut it another. So what's out there, and what are people really consuming in large numbers? Funny and humorous, talk about skateboarding cats. There's a lot more funny stuff out there. Sport, pretty universal. A huge amount of American sport being consumed in the UK. We didn't really understand this. Maybe we've been buying the wrong rights. I don't really know. Say again? Weirdos. Is that one of you? Are you one of them? Yeah, you are, aren't you? A lot of sport being consumed, and a huge amount of pirated sport being consumed as well, which is an interest and concern for us, given how much we've invested in that space. Virals, how-tos. I'm one of these people. On Sunday, I found out how to make a bottle bomb. Anyone know how to do that? It's not what it sounds like, but I have probably got my cookie on file at MI6 now as a result of doing this. It's when you basically take a plastic bottle, fill it a third full of water, put a foot pump in the end, prop it up, pump it until it flies off, and your kids go, "Man, that's amazing, Dad, thanks very much." You ever done that? Try it. Brilliant. I learnt it from a 14-year-old in Alabama how to do that. Videos, music videos, perhaps not surprising, and news and current affairs. Now that is a big segment, which is chunked into lots of smaller segments. Okay, so what do people actually really give a monkeys about? This is slightly contradictory, so it's a bit of a wacky slide. They do care about quality, but only up to a point, and quality needs to be referenced against both the type and the length of the video that they're watching. As witnessed by too high quality can actually be a hindrance. Often people think, and we tell this to advertisers quite a lot, often people think if something is too glossy and too broadcast quality, they think it's being paid for, and they think they're being fobbed off with something. They quite like the kind of grainy, edgy home stuff, but it depends what it is. So it's a fine line, and I appreciate I'm not telling you the answer here. There's another 15 slides of data that sit behind this, but I'm just giving you a quick skinny. Sound can often be more important than video, although contradictory. When we found out a huge amount of people were consuming mobile video in the office, the opposite is true. Sound, don't care about, just want the video, want to turn the sound off. Okay, anything else? So personalization, the thing that, broadcasters, publishers are super concerned about in terms of the way we publish content. Creating a service which is personal, particularly in the video space, holds real attention. And I know we've all now enjoyed the YouTube. You've seen this. We definitely think you should like that. And by the way, did you know you'd seen all of that stuff as well? Starting to create personal categories around things really goes down well if you do it right. Adverts. It's the only reference to adverts in the entire 18 slides. So here it goes. And it's not a good one for me. Ads that are longer than video itself frustrate. No real surprise. Apparently there's loads of them out there. So basically, people say, well, we don't mind adverts as long as we can skip them. But if they're good, we'll watch them. But only if they're short, particularly relative to the length of the content we're about to watch. So if the content we're about to watch is 30 minutes long, I don't mind a good 30-second ad. If the content I'm about to watch is 3 minutes long, I want a 10-second ad, and I want it to be really good in the first 2 seconds. Ambiguity around titles. So ambiguous titles, hooks, and misleading titles are a real no-no for people. It came out loud and clear. Kind of a big one for The Sun, because The Sun kind of, you know, The Sun's big thing is like writing amazing headlines, right? So really trying to do what it says on the tin and not mislead people is really important around video. More stuff. Again, it's kind of A is for Apple, but when you're putting out videos that are specifically designed for people to consume in the middle of the day on their mobile or on their commute, anything longer than 2 minutes probably isn't going to fly. People just don't seem to have the patience on a mobile when they're on the go to watch anything longer than 2 minutes, 20 seconds. And this came out as well a lot, which was something of a surprise to us. The passion piece. So a great example would be, which came up amongst the Sun audience, the Sun consumer audience, was Ian Wright. So love him or loathe him, he is both very passionate and an expert, or perceived to be such, in the Sun space. And he actually came out unprompted a number of times as a great example of somebody that, whether you like him or not, his energy levels are very high, he's very passionate about what he does, and whether you agree with him or not, he kind of knows what he's talking about, and he's got an opinion. An opinion is what newspapers do really well. You know, they tell stories, and they tell them, and they give you an opinion. And if they don't, they're not a very good newspaper. So that's really interesting to us. Okay, so I'm just going to briefly talk about consumption trends, 7 minutes. Hoarding. This was something that came out quite strongly. This idea that saving for later. So people really talked very clearly about not wanting to miss stuff, but really appreciating the desire to stack it, right, and catch up later. And that later might be at the end of the day. It's less likely to be on the train home. It's more likely to be at home once they're on Wi-Fi, or it might be on a Sunday. It might be the Netflix thing, it might be the box sets thing. But this idea of hoarding and really getting a kind of real salacious joy in knowing that it's all stacked up, 5 or 6 things stacked up and ready to watch, is a real attraction for people. So if you don't let people do that, you're missing a trick, we think. At work, almost nothing is missable, so it follows on from the hoarding thing. Work on the slide really came out very heavily, and it really was a mixed group, right? We had 22-year-olds right through to people in their 50s in this group of 40-odd people. And this idea, there's this one guy who came and said he watched the entire Olympics, literally the entire Olympics, with no sound. And we said, well, okay, you can watch the tickers and, you know, you can see the highlights. He went, no, I saw everything. I said, well, how did you do that? Because it was on multiple channels. You know, you had the archery at the same time as the swimming. He said, well, they've got 4 screens. Were you doing any work? No, just writing. So that was kind of interesting. So this idea of, and I don't know whether this resonates with you. If you run teams, you might want to check this. Seems to be a huge amount of video consumption in small bites, particularly around events going on at work. So we should be mindful of that when we're producing video. In bed. Yeah, again, I was actually there at the pop-up forum when the guy said this, the first person said this, and then they all started coming out of the woodwork. I personally don't find Facebook particularly relaxing just before I go to bed. I particularly don't find Facebook videos relaxing before I go to bed, but apparently it goes on quite a lot. And this guy, who seems something of a sloth-like character, also did it first thing in the morning. So where other people were saying, well, I check the news, you know, I could check Twitter, I pick up my phone because my phone is my alarm clock, so the natural thing to do is I check the news, I check my Facebook feed. This guy was particularly going in and watching a load of videos. I'm not sure he's typical, he's just a little bit weird. But again, joking aside, if you're putting stuff out at bedtime, think about whether that person's in the front room, they are actually in bed. How's your messaging supposed to reflect that? I talked about cutting it one way and then the other. So one way is, you know, where they're consuming it. One way is the types of content they're consuming, sport, otherwise. The other way is need states. So this is the different way of looking at it. We defined 5. I'll talk about them one by one. Routine distraction. The idea of this is it's often a worm. It's something that they might find out from social. It's often triggered by another media that then tips into a video. Somebody said, well, that the most annoying thing is seeing somebody saying, have you seen that amazing video about blah, and not seeing the link, and then having to go and find it. You know, really, really annoying. But this idea of I routinely want to be distracted. Right? If I go to the toilet or whatever, rather than writing on the wall about Tom's amazing presentation, saw that by the way, very good. I'll take my iPhone and I'll check Sun goals because it's amazing. Divided attention, so as opposed to undivided attention, clearly. It's this idea that I think I've tried to avoid using the word either media stacking or dual screening. This idea that people do seem to be watching stuff, sometimes with sound off or with sound down, in the background whilst they're doing something else. Now, this is typical radio behaviour, right? This is what we think of, and this is what radio have traded off the back of for many, many years. But it appears to be happening now more and more with VOD. That you are in this need state, you are not making an appointment to view or at a certain time for a certain thing. You're not stacking it up and watching it the weekend. You are at some point during your day saying, I'm just going to flick about while I'm doing something else. I do this while my wife watches Mad Men. The irony of that. The guy's been in advertising since 1996. Can't stand Mad Men. I think it's a ridiculous programme. Whenever that goes on, I go and do something else. The must-see stuff. So this is your Netflix. This is your event-based stuff. This is the closest people come to live TV viewing, be it via a small screen or a big screen. So this idea that they really look forward to making this appointment to sit down and consume something, normally something quite specific, be it on Netflix or be it 2 or 3 episodes of Game of Thrones, or in my case, these weird new cycling videos that are on Cycling News. Anyone a cyclist? Oh dear, just me. You are? Yeah, check them out. Very good. It's my little treat. I know I'm going to do it at the end of the day, about 10 o'clock at night. Sit down and watch out, look at the new videos on cyclingnews.com. Very good. And serious enjoyment. So what's funny about that? Is it the quote? Yeah. This is actually one person, believe it or not. Guess whether it's a male or female. This person was into Zac Efron, Leyton Orient, and Perfect Baking.
That's you, Hamish.
Okay, it is me. It is me. Yes, it is me. It's not. It was one person, and she was a she. The idea of this is that people seem to have their passion points, the things they gravitate to on a regular basis, and make an appointment to view. And help me. So this is me. This is me with my MI6 pump it up, Coke bottle water bomb. I also found out that, by the way, if you get a can of Coke, a bottle of Coke, like a 2-litre one, or anything with carbon dioxide in, and you drop in, you buy a pack of Mentos with it at the Budgeons. You ever seen this? Yeah. Drop in a how good is that? You create an instant fountain, and absolutely amazing. I'm going to do it on Sunday. So this is the sort of how-to guides. You know, I bust my bike, I need to know how to fix it. My neighbour comes around and says, where's your stopcock? That did happen to me 2 weeks ago, been in the house 4 years, don't know. It's that kind of stuff, but it crops up a lot. So from a programming perspective, we're wondering, what does that mean for the sun? What can the sun help you with? What is the sun good at? You know, Dear Deirdre, maybe? I don't know. Plumbers, maybe? We don't really know. Football tips, don't know. But there's a big thing about help me. Now the challenge for that, of course, is it's instigated by the person. You can't tee them up and say, not sure if you need help with these million things. It's generally instigated by a person with a particular challenge at a particular time. So there's some real challenges over how do you hook up the content with the person with the challenge at a particular point in time, but it's a big, big thing. So we're thinking about what that might mean. And that's me. I'm done. Thanks for tuning in.